The United States and Iran are stuck in a will-they-won't-they war dance. Every few years, the threat of conflict between the two rears its head and the world holds its breath. Why does this keep happening? What's the root of the animosity between Iran and the West? This is everything you need to know about Iran in 5 minutes. The Great Persian Empire was founded by Cyrus in 550 BC. In 654 AD, Persia was definitively conquered by the Islamic Caliphate. It didn't re-emerge as an independent state until 1501 under Ismail I. Ismail converted his subjects to Shia Islam. The Safavids established Iran as the world's leading Shia nation, a status upheld by all the dynasties that followed. Iran's conflict with the West began in the 1800s. The Russians wanted to expand south toward the Indian Ocean. The British wanted not that, because they were worried it might threaten their control of India. Iran was caught in the middle. The Qajar Shahs who ruled the country at the time were forced to cede huge amounts of territory to Russia. In 1905, an uprising forced the Shah to sign a constitution that would allow elections for the first time, but he died shortly thereafter. The Russians and British teamed up to help the new Shah strangle democracy. They much preferred dealing with despots who were lazy, corrupt, and accountable to no one. In 1907, Britain and Russia signed a treaty dividing Iran into spheres of influence that they could dominate. They didn't inform the Iranians until after the deal was done. Iran became even more important to the British when they discovered oil there in 1908. In World War I, Iran declared itself neutral. Nevertheless, it was occupied by the Ottomans, by the Russians, and by the British. The theft of food by soldiers on all sides partly led to the Persian famine of 1917 to 1919, in which 2 million people died. The Russians and British didn't withdraw their troops until 1922, and the British installed a puppet government on their way out, led by strongman Reza Khan. In 1925, Khan overthrew the old dynasty and proclaimed himself Reza Shah Pahlavi. Reza Shah was a modernizer who built roads and rail lines and provided free secular education. He advanced women's rights and decreed their mandatory unveiling. But he was an autocrat, and his clashes with Shia clerics would cause major problems later. Reza Shah also flirted with Hitler, so in 1941 the British and Soviets invaded Iran again. They were eager to secure Iran's oil. Humiliated, Reza Shah was forced to abdicate in favor of his son Mohammad Reza Shah. Mohammad Reza allowed elections and initially took a more laissez-faire approach than his father. In 1951, Iran's Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh nationalized the oil industry, taking control away from the British. The Brits were outraged. The Americans were concerned that communists could take over Iran, so the two hatched a plot called Operation Ajax. The CIA spent millions on propaganda inside Iran, paying people to protest and bribing the Shah to fire the Prime Minister. In July 1953, CIA agent Kermit Roosevelt snuck his car into the palace grounds, met with the Shah, and gave him $1 million in cash. After riots staged by the British and Americans killed several hundred people, Mossadegh was forced from office. Foreign control of Iran's oil was restored. Following this incident, the Shah became a dictator, backed to the hilt by the United States. In 1963, the cleric Ayatollah Khomeini was imprisoned for criticizing modernization. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, anti-government sentiment grew, most significantly from devout Shia Muslims who loathed the secular, foreign-backed, and corrupt monarchy. By January 1979, mass riots and strikes forced the Shah to flee. Iran became an Islamic republic, with Ayatollah Khomeini as its supreme leader. The deposed Shah was granted asylum in the United States, but the Republic demanded his extradition. When the US refused, a group of students attacked the American embassy, taking 52 hostages. 6 American diplomats managed to escape, hidden and protected by Canadians. CIA agent Tony Mendez infiltrated Iran posing as a film producer and smuggled the 6 escapees out of the country using Canadian passports. The 52 hostages were tortured and tormented for 444 days. The hostage crisis led to a complete breakdown of relations between Iran and the United States. When Saddam Hussein invaded Iran in 1980, he ultimately won US backing, despite the fact he was a madman using chemical weapons against civilians. Iran's official hatred of America has proved equally intractable. In 2014, the US and partners struck a deal. Iran would stop attempting to develop nuclear weapons, and in exchange, frozen foreign assets would be returned. But the US pulled out of this deal in 2018, reverting to a harsher stance. Iran also has difficult relations with Saudi Arabia and other Sunni Muslim countries, a result of religious differences, but also Iran's support of groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis in Yemen. And that's pretty much where things stand in 2024. On a knife's edge. If you enjoyed this video, leave us a like and a comment, and subscribe to History Snob for more. Thank you for watching.